Shanti, Shanti. All my love from India to you, wherever you are in the world. One thing is most certain, probably you are also in quarantine like us. And I heard today like almost 3 billion people are in quarantine right now in the world, and it's growing. And the crisis is definitely taking a toll in our plans for sure, but not only that, in our inner world. And the quarantine may start feeling like threatening, like awkward, like I don't know, like intense for many of us. And I want to share with you a little bit something that happened to me yesterday, so in a very human way. So I can explain you a little bit about the layers of emotions that are here at stake in this moment in history and in moment in time. So this woman in our family, she needed to get something done in her computer. And my husband is a tech guy, so he knows a lot about that. And it would have been wonderful and perfect if it was like in normal circumstances. But what happened is that, let's say that in these moments of crisis, it's very hard for all of us to have clear boundaries. Why? Because we are all scared, we are anxious, we are, some of us, we're away from our families, some people are getting sick, we have all this, bombardment of news and the fear. There's like a fear pandemic happening. So in these circumstances, sometimes it's hard for us to take the right action. And that's what yoga is. Yoga is skill in action. So the normal response would have been, I really want to help you now, but we are in quarantine. So, you are not allowed to exit your house. You should stay home and let's figure this out online. But that's not what happened. And in this, let's say, dynamic that we experienced yesterday, I felt a lot of anger coming out. And maybe it doesn't even have to do with this person. Maybe this person is just bringing me closer to my feelings, because since we're all in this fear pandemic, then there's like also anger and even wrath, because many of our plans were destroyed. We are scared for our family wherever they are. We are attached to people or to plans or whatever, and like some people losing their jobs, some people being home alone when they have always been distracted, and like there's so much happening right now that has a huge potential for awakening. But at the same time, it's not possible to just simply like, I'm awake. This is below me, and I am, in this level of superiority spiritually, and not this is touching me. And no, we are all humans. Unless we are enlightened, we are experiencing all these emotions. But where I want to go here is that the fear is there, the anger is there, but below the anger, there's a deep sadness, there's grief. And there's grief not only because of the coronavirus, there's grief because of our own human condition. The human condition is that in which we try to create something, and there's always a huge obstacle, or there's so many dynamics, or there are like things that go weird, or that they just get destroyed, or we are all holding so much grief, and it's no coincidence that we are holding this grief in our lungs. And I remember when I was in Mysore with my teacher, and I was in the process of letting go of my marriage, and it was a very hard time for me because I was doing my practice, and I really loved this person, but I could realize that he was not right for my spiritual evolution. And so that was a huge conflict, and I remember I used to wake up in the middle of the night while being in Mysore with my teacher, and I would just start coughing and coughing and coughing and coughing uncontrollably for a month and a half in India. When I came back to Costa Rica in that trip, I went to the pulmonologist, and he diagnosed a pneumonia. And actually my left lung has the scars from that episode, because I was with antibiotics, and the feeling was that I could not breathe. It was just this feeling, it was so strange not to be able to breathe fully, especially doing my yoga practice. So I have a first-hand experience of what it means to be hurt in your lungs. And of course there was a lot of grief, and it's not coincidence that organ in my body was very vulnerable in those times of this separation and the divorce and everything. So this is also what is happening to all of us, humanity. Our lungs are weak. And why are they weak? Why are they weak? Because when we are children, and this, I really thank my teacher, Dawn. She's in Canada, and she's the one that has been sharing in her podcast many of these teachings. And I started working with him since 1996, I think, like 24 years ago. And I know her work, and I really respect it. What happens is that we have felt all of our lives since we were kids abandoned from the energy of the masculine principle, which is the energy that holds us, that takes care of us in this world, that just allows us to feel comfortable in this incarnation. And most of us, if not all of us, grew with parents that could not hold us in that way, with that certainty and security. We grew up with parents that were absent, even if they were like present physically, but they were like emotionally absent in their own minds, they were somewhere else, and we felt so alone. And this quarantine is exactly triggering that loneliness that is in our lungs. It's like a wound that all of us have. So this incident with this person, of course, that brought a lot of wrath and anger in me, and I just feel invaded, and I felt like disrespected, and it was a reckless behavior on her part. But I thank her, because she really helped me bring out all that emotion. And so before I started my yoga practice, I was in a meditation practice that helped me a lot, and I did my meditation, and I just put my headphones and started some music, and the music started stirring up a lot of emotions. And that day was so beautiful. I meditated until 1 a.m, and then really went deep into my grief not only for my own life, but for my children, for my ex-husbands, for my country, Costa Rica, for India. India is going through huge pain, because of all the underprivileged population they're really being impacted by this lockdown. They lost their livelihoods. I just read about a man that started walking, and he walked for hundreds of kilometers, and eventually he died. He was 38 years old, and he had a heart attack, and he left a wife and 3 little kids, and that just completely opened my heart to tears. And in this quarantine, we can really stay in the upper layers of the emotions, and just be scared and panic and freak out, or then get angry and just get bitchy, and take it on the neighbor, or and we are still in the upper layers. Go deeper. Allow yourself to go deeper into that sadness, into that grief. What grief for? Grief for all of us, because now we're all prisoners right now. That's the reality. Grief for the planet, because the planet has been deeply wounded with all this neoliberalism and all this greed and ambition in the corporations, and so much violence against human beings so money can be produced. It's absolutely absurd, and these are the times to go within and just really feel that pain of our planet, because that pain is our pain, it's our lungs. It's no wonder this virus is finding our weakest point. Why are we weak in our lungs? Also because our atmosphere is polluted. Oh my God, like now I can see blue skies here, but I used to live in a gray city all the time. So let this time be a moment of deeply moving through anger. Anger is just, it's kind of like a block in between you and your soft spot. And that soft spot is waiting for you. It's been waiting for you all your life. It's a place that we are all scared to go to because we have always, distracted ourselves. Even, traveling to India and, our guru and you can do a yoga practice for 20 years and stay away from that place that scares you so much. And you can have great postures and you can have beautiful asana and you have never even touched that. And I ask you, go there, because this is where the miracle is going to happen. Just simply surrender to the grief of not knowing where we're going, which is our reality as human beings, but somehow we have been all in this illusion of control, which is not real. The only real thing is that we are mortal, we are alive today, and we're gonna die tomorrow. We don't know how or when, but it's coming. We are all in the Titanic. So there is no time to waste. It's a wonderful opportunity to just simply go and completely melt in that space of sadness. And in the old times, my teacher Dawn, she said in her podcast that the priestess, the priestess were the ones that we protect in the spirit. They would collect their tears in little bottles, and those tears were there to heal the whole of humanity. Some of us are meant to shed those tears not only for our personal dramas, but for many, many, many people that are right now in sheer need of some support. And as we cry our tears, as we go deep into our own wounds, we are helping them cope, energetically sustaining them, holding them, crying for those who are dying, crying for those who are losing their families, crying for those who are sick, crying for ourselves, crying for our families, for our children. Cry it all. Cry your loneliness. Cry your lack of control. Cry it. Just melt it. And the tears will purify your heart, your soul. Cry, in the morning, cry at night, cry after lunch. If you're alone, you can cry everywhere in your home. Or just reserve a crying spot for yourself and go there. Don't miss this wonderful opportunity to bypass your hijacked soul, because our soul has been hijacked by all these ideas of success and of all the energy that is destroying our planet, that has been destroying us up to this point. And now we have the pause, stop, how can we live a simple life in truth, in awareness, in community? How can we help and sustain each other? How can we be more open and more human and less, for the new generation especially, less on your phones? How can you just connect when we're back to hugs and kisses? Wow, what a luxury. So use this time, please. Cry with me, cry. I'll be crying every day, and I hope to cry again with you live next Friday in Mexico. I love you. Thank you so much for those tears. They were deeply healing at many levels. Namaste.